NZ Aerosports, Icarus Canopies, now Gyro. That's right, we've rebranded, and Gyro is our next generation. It honours our founder, as that's the name we knew him by, but Gyro also marks the start of a new chapter. And not to be biased, but it's going to be fucking epic. Long story short, we're more us than ever, so if you're new to the sport, or even a Sky God Ninja Turtle, welcome. I think our valiant leader Lucy, Gyro's daughter, says it best.
And we still got that fuck yeah attitude. Rebrand! Woo!
Rebrand woo indeed, Lucy. Anyway, head over to gyro.com for more info and get amongst your legends.
I was 19, broke, unemployed, and sold my girlfriend's canopy for drug money. So I thought I better sew her a new one. What a sentence, and what a story. This describes the humble yet outrageous beginnings of NZ Aerosports, the home of Icarus Canopies, in the words of our founder himself. From getting a paratrooper toy from his mom, watching parachutes at the DZ as a 6-year-old, jumping off the wharf with a parachute made from bed sheets, doing his first jump at 16, sewing his first canopy on a borrowed machine at 19, and starting to sell parachutes out of a garage in 1986, Paul Gyro Martin had an undying love for the sky. Our company started with one man with the wildest of spirits and a true blue sky dream, a renegade. In the time that Gyro created and ran the Icarus Canopies brand until he passed away in 2017, he pushed everything he had to its limits. We miss him, and we always will. Gyro is the next generation of NZ Aerosports. It honors our founder, of course, because it was the name we all knew him by, but Gyro the rebrand also marks the start of a new chapter, our next jump. Gyro is the space between sound and silence, art and science, chaos and calm. Gyro is a state of epic tranquility that transcends understanding. That moment, in the door, in free fall, mid-swoop, where nothing but the present exists. A perfect balance of euphoria and thrill. Gyro captures our passion for flying and our commitment to designing break-the-fucking-rules canopies that deliver pilots pure, wild flight.
Coming straight from the cockpit, it's another episode of Lunatic Fringe with the fucking pilot.
Ready, set, go. All right, back in the can for another edition of Lunatic Fringe Into the Void, and a cool one. We got some record-breaking stuff to talk about with this guy. Tell me, who the fuck are you, and what do you do?
My name is Luigi Cani. I jump. I have been jumping for 25 years. Half of my life. I'm going to turn 50, and I started in 1995. It's been a big part of my life, and that's what I do for a living.
Sure. Well, you and I started. I think you and I started jumping right around the same time because I started in '96, not too far behind you.
That's cool.
So, I mean, I got a lot of stuff I want.
Probably we had some.
Go ahead.
We had some similar experiences.
Probably. I think we started at the same time frame for sure. So I want to ask. I've got I've got a million questions about a bunch of different stuff, especially a lot of the record stuff that you've done. But as is the norm with the podcast, I want to go all the way to the back of the beginning of your career. You said 95. Where were you jumping? Was skydiving your first extreme sport, or was this just kind of your thing from the beginning?
No. I actually, at the time, I was into mixed martial arts.
Okay.
That was just the beginning of. I was doing Muay Thai. There's a famous gym here in Brazil, down south in Curitiba, where I was born. And I was part of a good crew of fighters. I was friends with Anderson Silva,
Wow.
Vanderlei Silva. They are all old school now, but we were young at the time. And no one has made a career at anything, not fighting or jumping. But I was very dedicated to the Muay Thai and the Jiu-Jitsu. And then one day I was driving my car to work, and I heard this advertisement in the radio station talking about skydiving. Down south in Brazil it was not popular at all, and I have never seen a parachute. I have never flown in an airplane, I think. And they said something like, oh, you know, I got this guys from São Paulo. They're doing a course down here in Curitiba. Come check it out. You can jump from 9,000 feet. And I thought, wow, 9,000 feet, that must be high. That must be cool. So I skipped work and I drove to the airport. And as I was asking for information at the parking lot, the guy said, oh no, they're jumping right now. Just look up. And then I look it up, and I saw 3 people in free fall, just as they are breaking off right before opening the parachute. And I saw for the first time, and then I thought that was crazy. You know, back in the day, I didn't know anything about sport. And I thought, wow, these guys are crazy. That must feel amazing what they're feeling, you know. And I signed up for the course. Was a static line course. I did 5 days ground school, and then the first jump. It was a unique drop zone because it was a small airport in the middle of the city. So the landing area was small. So what they would do, one jump master will jump first. No, the jump master will let you go on a static line jump, like, you know, at 4,000 feet. And then he goes after you. He opens his parachute, a big parachute, and he flies in front of you. So he's talking on the radio, and you follow him all the way through landing, because if you don't land on the right spot, you're in trouble. You know, only power lines and buildings, you know.
Sure.
So it was very intimidating. And for my surprise, when they opened the door for my first jump, I was almost in panic. I realized I was afraid of heights, you know. Like these days, you know, like you and me, you know, we have been doing this for a long time. We can tell people in the airplane who is really nervous, who is not. You know, when you see people doing tandems, you know, and you see that people that you feel sorry for them. I was one of them. So it was almost panicking. That's how much scared I was. But then once I land, I had this feeling that it was not about the freedom or the extreme or the adrenaline, you know, or the speed, whatever people think it is. That was part of it, but the major part was like facing my weakness. It was like, you know, the accomplishment of doing something that would make me feel so intimidated and so scared, and the feeling of having control of that was what made me to keep on going. Yeah.
Sure. You know, that's it's been really funny that I've been able to talk to so many people that have been in the sport for years and years. And I get comments from a lot of the people that listen to the podcast saying one of their favorite things is when they hear someone like yourself, someone that's very well known in the sport, many, many years, many, many jumps and many accomplishments. They like hearing that you were fucking scared. Because, you know, people get this natural assumption that these rock stars in the sport that are doing these innovative things must not get scared. And chances are they've been shitting their pants right along the way with the rest of us. And people like knowing that, you know?
Exactly. If they are not, they are in danger because, you know, this is what I think when I see, because most people are not as scared as I am up to these days, you know. Every time I'm doing something different, I'm doing a different jump, I'm very scared. And I think it's good because I take I'm very careful with the stuff that I do. I'm very technical and very particular about the safety. And, these days I try to team up with people that they help me to make the decisions, and how to do it, if do or not, when to do it, and things like that. And I try to don't rely only on my expertise, but I'm always more comfortable when I have people that they have lots of experience on their field as well, and they are like my guard angels, but
Sure.
they're like professional people that they have been in the industry, that they work for a long time. They love what they do, and that's how I do things these days. I don't rely on luck
Sure.
at all. Yeah.
Now, when you got started like that, you land from your first jump, and you said it was a tough first jump. I was the same way. I landed from that first jump wanting to go right back up, but terrified of it at the same time. How hard was it to get yourself back in the plane that next time and then to finish the course? I mean, did you really have to fight it?
Exactly. A lot. I mean, it was crazy because first I thought, okay, this is how I planned it. So I was working in an office, and I thought I will do this once in a month, because once in a month, it's a hobby. It's not a sport. It's like going to the Six Flags and, going to a roller coaster. I'm just go there and do once, and then I will release my stress, and I look my budget. Oh, maybe I can afford this to do once per month. And that was my plan. So after the first landing, I was like, I want to go it again. I even didn't have the funds or anything, but I want to go it again. I don't know why. And then on the first day, I think I did 6 jumps.
Wow.
On the first day. You're supposed to do one per month, right? But I remember that inside of the airplane, as soon as they put my gear on, they put me inside there. As soon as the airplane takes off, I regret. I was like, why did I do this?
Right.
And oh my God. And I was thinking, my mom told me, this is not a good idea. My mom didn't like it at all. And I was like that every jump.
Sure.
Every jump. And then I remember I push it hard, like it was only weekends that they have the drop zone working. And then on the second weekend, I went to my jump number 11. So at the time, it was not like a AFF course. It was like a static line that, the first thing you do 3 jumps with the static line. And then the first one, you pull the ripcord, and then you take like 5 seconds and pull the ripcord. If you do right, you take 10 seconds. And then I think my jump 11, I was already jumped from 10,000 feet. I think that was the highest they would go. And you free fall all the way to 5,000. And my jump number 11, it was cold, very cold. And I start spinning on my own. Nobody's there, and I was spinning like crazy. And then I opened my parachute, and then I had, line twist and stuff. And I landed, and then I said, this is not for me. I was too scared.
Sure.
I didn't have control, of the spinning. And that's how this is old school,
Sure.
You're by yourself, you figured it out. And then I stopped doing it for 1 month. I said, no, I'm going to die doing this stuff. This is not for me. To make the long story short, I came back one day. It was a warm day, and then it was sunny. I had nothing to do. I said, I'm going to go there, check it out. And then I jumped, and I had a great jump. And then I got back on track. I remember I had a cutaway very early, like jump number 15. Probably shouldn't cut away. It was something to do with the toggle. I could take the toggle, but
Sure.
I cut it away. There was, the instructions. And then I was like, whoa, it was petrified. But I got that out of the way very early. So
Sure.
the reserve works. And then I start to, and then I use all my savings, all my plans changed.
Right.
All my savings, everything. Oh, I don't need to buy an apartment anymore. This is where I'm going to spend my money. And I put everything 100%. 100% I was putting into it. And then I was jumping as much as I could. Obviously, we had a limitation. It's not like, a big drop zone or nothing like today. If you're lucky, you make like 5 jumps in a weekend. And then I was doing that all the time. And then there's some, and then I started going to São Paulo, where they have Boituva now. It's the biggest drop zone in Brazil. So very soon, my weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I would drive, 800 kilometers every weekend to go to São Paulo and spend. And then there we could make a lot of more jumps.
Sure.
I could make like 20 jumps in one weekend. And 2 years later, I don't know if I'm going too fast.
No, please.
2 years later, I sold everything and I moved to California, to Los Angeles. We used to watch those VHS tapes.
Oh, yeah.
And it was when Charles Bryan and Free Fly Clouds and Flyboys,
yeah,
and
man.
There's some stuff like Rickster Powell for swooping, and I was like really into swooping. And we used to watch those videos, and then I was like, okay, Flyboys are in California, I was a big fan of JC from PD Factory team, John Cookleisure. I was like, oh, this guy, he's number one now, he's doing the swooping stuff, and I want to meet these people. So I sold everything and I bought extension classes at UCLA for advertising and video production. And then I used that excuse to go to California and jump.
So you got yourself into college courses in California, not to go to college, but to jump in Paris.
Yes, that's right.
That's fucking awesome.
That's pretty much what I did.
That's
I had
awesome.
Because it was crazy. Like nobody would support me. I didn't rely on anybody's money. I started work very early, and I did everything with my own funds. I did how I could, but still, your family. It's like this is 1997.
Yeah.
You're gonna go chase what?
Yeah.
A skydiving career? What is that? What a parachute will do for you?
Sure.
You're gonna kill yourself.
Sure.
That's not a job. So it was hard for people to understand. And
yeah, for sure. I mean, we were talking pre-podcast, trying to figure out where our paths would have crossed, and you've already gotten to where they crossed because you were pretending to be in college in California at the same time I was driving to Paris on the weekends from Las Vegas because Paris was the turbine drop zone. And just like you, scared shitless all the time. I had my first cutaway in Paris at 25 jumps, broke my leg on 27th in Paris. So we would have crossed paths.
Just bad landing? Or just
yeah, it was a bad landing. Somebody loaned me a canopy that was a lot more aggressive than I should have been on, and I panic flared about 30 feet up and then let up on the toggles and drilled myself in. So completely my fault, and just like you, I think that first cutaway was probably just a toggle fire and I freaked out. It is what it is. And it was kind of the same thing. We ended up going to Paris Valley because that's where the Flyboys were. Man, that's where they were doing all this cutting edge shit because we were watching, all the videos that the clowns had put out and Chronicles videos. I mean, are you kidding? That was the most amazing stuff ever. So that's where we would have crossed paths is in Paris. So, so it's
a great place. It was a magic time too.
Yeah, man. Oh my God, that was Mecca.
That time in Paris, it was magic, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of the best time of my life. Yeah, I have only good memories, from that place. It's amazing.
Now, did you when you took off to California that's the best damn reason I've ever heard. By the way, you get to Paris. By then, did you have enough jumps and experience to start working there?
No, I got there. I made 600 jumps in Brazil in 2 years.
Jeez.
Which the time was a lot. Yeah. And then, as I said, I put everything in. And then I bought, a camera. At the time, I used like those PC7.
Yeah.
PC7 was the one, yeah.
Yep.
That I remember the best. Yeah. And then I went to Paris and I I got there and I had a very bad English. I barely could speak English. And then I went with 2 friends. They went only for vacation, and they would come back to Brazil, and I would stay there. So I had this girl that she was with me. We ended up being dating for a little while, but she spoke a good English. And I got to Paris, and I made a fun jumps, and I was like trying to meet people, and people were very friendly. I got along with people very quick.
Sure.
And then I had my camera helmet, and then this is how it happened for the first time. I was there, and they had this competition, this championship. It was like a 4-way camp or something event. And there's a lot of teams, back in the day.
Sure.
They had those events, a lot of 4-way people.
Oh, yeah.
And then Craig O'Brien was the chief of the camera guys. And then I was like, maybe you go there and ask if they need help, to film. And she goes to Craig. And I was like super fresh. I was there like not even for a month, And I was living in Los Angeles. So it's not that I was living at the drop zone.
Sure.
We would drive on the weekends. And Craig, yeah, sure. Does he have 2 parachutes? I was like, I didn't have 2 parachutes to make back-to-backs.
Right.
And she's like, sure, he does. So she loaned me her big parachute, And then I was doing back-to-back like crazy, And then like, oh, you're the framing Ryan. He gave me some tips. And then I was like a dream, It's like the first time I made as many jumps as I could make, I didn't have to stop it was crazy because, I even didn't feel like I have to stop to get food, I just would jump as much as I could, back in the day. And I ended up making some cash and make, tons of jumps like I never made before. And I was like, oh man, this is it. And so I met Craig O'Brien right there. And then, about the same time I met everybody. And I think I was so excited, and my passion for skydiving, it was so genuine that people, they can sense that, they see in your eyes, like they see how your eyes is bright about what you're doing. And then, down here in Brazil, especially back in the day, always like, oh, American people, they don't like people from Latin America, and they don't give you chances and this and that. And for me, it was 100% the opposite, because I was coming from a third world country, to United States, that was my, first time there. And all the doors were open, the same way it was for everybody. And I thought, wow, this is cool. These people are, it's very special because I think, the jumpers, they are like, even though you have a crazy way to live life and all that, but we are very down to earth as far as relationship and things that matters in life, know? And you're not superficial as much as, some of the other areas that you socialize. And I felt that, and then I ended up staying for only 12 years.
Only 12 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're dead on in the relationships that people form in the sport. Not only are friendships made quickly, but they're really close and tight bonds. And I keep likening it to a soldier's kind of friendship, because we're putting ourselves through sometimes dangerous, sometimes scary experiences together, and that bonds people tightly, And you've got such a variety of people from so many different walks of life and so many different professions that do what we do. It's kind of hard to be pretentious about it. And I'm sure you're the same as me. The longer I was in the sport, the more I found that all of my friends, with very few exceptions, were jumpers. Either they were, just casual fun jumpers, or they were working in the sport. But all of a sudden, my non-jumping friends just didn't get me anymore, and they couldn't quite get that mentality of what would drive you to do something that you've already said scares the shit out of you. And I'm sure you're the same. I look back on those beginning years when I was still terrified jumping, and I can't figure out how I managed to get through all those years, but I had so much fun being scared.
Mm-hmm. It's strange because fear doesn't give you any good feeling. Fear just gives you stress. It's not comfortable. It's a place where you want to get out of it. And for some reason, after you accomplish what was scaring you before, that feeling is so much stronger than what you're feeling before. The good feeling after you accomplish something. I think it's like everything in life. Nothing comes easy. So, but the jumping activity, the high risk sports, they have something that's very hard to deal with. It's like losing your life.
Sure.
So most of the jobs you don't have that, and I think this is something that a lot of times when you see the I don't know, obviously you have been in a situation where you have a close call, and I think we all have. If you have been in the sport for this long, we all have seen people dying that we know. We all have seen people that we care about dying, and sometimes very hard and very tough to make a decision. Like, oh, should I keep on going? I don't have problem with that for a long time, but I think up to when Eli passed away, I was in Switzerland. We were together, and that year, there was like a couple people close to me that died too, and then Eli died, and after that I started having nightmares. I came back. I ended my trip right there when he died, and then I went back to Los Angeles, and I went for 1 month without sleeping proper. I was having nightmares, like horrible nightmares, about the people that I know that have been dying in the sport, and dreaming about other people that I care dying, all related to jumping. Horrible dreams, nightmares. And I went 1 month without jumping, thinking, should I keep doing on this? Like 3 top guys just passed away, and doing projects. And then after 1 month, I had to decide what I'm going to do with my life. And I thought, let me study as much as I can what happened, why it happened, everything about it, not just the technical or the physics, but the psychology inside of their heads, what put themselves in that position to take that risk, to make that mistakes, blah, 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 blah. And I came to a conclusion that I wouldn't die the same way they did. It wouldn't happen to me. Not because I'm better, just because I'm different. For instance, 2 of those 3 stunts, I wouldn't even do it. It wouldn't even appeal to me, the risk to do it. And I was like, okay, so I'm keep on going. And I had my very last close call in 2007. And Eli passed away in a very similar situation that I had in my last close call. And we talked at the bar for 3 hours about my experience and how lucky I was and what happened, because he was struggling with the same thing. And then next morning, sure enough, and I was trying to talk him out of it. He was kind of asking for help. Oh, Sarah's mad of me. I'm still here. It's like, dude, go back to your family. You have nothing to prove here anymore. So I think that was a big lesson for me. And after that, I didn't have any close call. So my last close call was 2007. Eli passed away. I don't remember, 2009, I guess. But it's a beautiful sport.
Sure,
You know,
sure.
it
Well,
has
and
some risk.
I think the risks and the potential for loss is part of what makes it such a beautiful sport. Unfortunately, that means that those of us that are still around have to face some pretty fucking harsh facts. I had not exactly the same type, but I had definitely my time in the sport where I had to make that same decision, and had lost some people over the years, and then had heard about losses. And you know how it is when you're in the sport for any length of time. You might not know the person that died, but you know a dozen people that knew that person. So it's always close to home. It doesn't matter if you know someone. It was a skydiver. I was having the same type of thing where I was trying to decide, is this something I still want to do? And it was getting almost to the point where I was making deals with myself. Okay, I'm going to keep jumping because I'm making good money and this is what I do. But if I can make it to my daughter's next birthday, then I'll reevaluate. And then, of course, the birthday would come around and I'm still jumping. And then, okay, I got to make it to her next birthday. And then and so you make all these bargains with yourself, and then you finally just decide, this is who I am. This is I'm not making deals. I'm just going to be as safe as I possibly can. And you just learn to cope with those losses. Everybody's had that, all right, am I still a skydiver moment? And clearly we still are. Now, I want to ask, because we're talking about risky stuff and kind of riding that fine line, what drove you to make the decision to go for the initial record of flying and landing the smallest parachute ever? Because that is wow. I mean, I know you put a ton into it, but where did that idea come from? Why go for that?
Yeah, started around that time when I went to California. I think I was around for, I don't know, I must be around for a couple of years already, maybe 1 year. And then I saw, I think, Mike Mullins came to Paris, and he was landing a 58 square foot parachute. And I was walking to draw, and I heard something different. And then I look up, and he was like doing his turn and coming for landing. These days it's normal.
Right.
But, back in 1998, 1999, I don't remember the year, something like that. It was crazy.
Sure.
So inspiration, he inspired me. I saw that, and that was the same feeling I had when I woke to the airport and I saw people in free fall for the first time. It's
Sure.
like, wow, how does that feel?
Right.
And I saw that guy on that fast parachute, and I was like, whoa, this parachute sounds like a little jet or something,
Sure.
And immediately he's like a superhero to me, It's like, wow, I want to see how this guy looks like,
Right.
And then everybody's talking about, he got a prototype parachute. There was no parachute for sale at that size at the time. I was already into high performance parachutes, I don't know what I had at the time, maybe Stiletto 107 or something.
Sure.
And then after that, I learned about Icarus canopies, and then I managed to buy one canopy from Icarus. I remember it was hard to get in the States because everybody thought it was dangerous, nobody wanted cross brace parachute. Nobody had it, only
Sure.
Icarus.
Sure.
There's no velocities, there was nothing. And then everybody, that's not a good thing. This canopy is not safe, but I was so excited. So I managed to get one. I think it was like a 80 square feet light guy, 145, 150 pounds. And then I start jumping the parachute, and everybody's like, oh, you're turning too low. You're going to, same old for everybody,
Right.
that start doing things. And I was lucky that I had some good guys around, like JC and some other, people that they knew what they were doing.
Sure.
And they put me on track. And then quickly I was doing the right thing, with those parachutes. And then soon enough, I borrow Mike Mullen's 58 to check it out because I'm little, you know, and was flying right and people trust me. And then I decided to, and then I started competing on swooping. And then I started doing okay, and I was competing with the big boys, you know, and it was a part of the family. I felt like part of the family, and then I was getting lucky now and there, and having good results on swoop competition, you know, swooping with the big dogs and things like that. And then I approached Icarus and I said, hey, why don't we do this world record? You know, Mike Mullen, he had a world record, but he never claimed for it. He was doing just for fun, or, you know. And then I'm always like, because I need to make a living. I need to survive out of this, you know. How am I going to survive? You know, everybody goes to the direction where, you know, they have the skills for it, you know. And I never, for some reason, I never dreamed of like teaching people. I didn't feel like being an AFF instructor or a tendon master, you know. I was trying to find my way in the industry. And then I was like, okay, if I make this a world record, you know, and I can try to get some sponsors, you know, and then, you know, we give a purpose for it, you know, and maybe they will go for it. But all I wanted was to fly a fast parachute. And then I approached Icarus. They agreed. I was surprised, you know, and they made the first 46. I think the year was 2000. So I flew the 46, and I wrote like a storyline to film and to educate people about what was happening. And then I sent the footage to Brazil, and it was playing on the big TV shows in Brazil at the time. There was no like much cable TV. It was more like network TV. You know, no social media, nothing. So everybody in Brazil used to watch this big show. It's like the biggest rating show in Brazil. You know, half of the country watched that show, even more. And then I make the highlights on that show, and then the recognition at the time, I never expect that. And I was like, wow, man, I think this is a way I can make a living, you know, doing projects and filming. And and then I got into this track of like, you know, doing, I think after that, we're in a process to make like Icarus Extreme team. And then I team up with the JC, Clint Clausen, and Jim Slayton. And we became the factory pilots for Icarus canopies. And then they're supporting us in competitions and little events. And then I went beyond that. I got some money from Brazilian company, Yahoo Brazil, to go to Switzerland and fly parachutes near to the mountains. Because they used to do those blade runnings, you know, in small mountains in California, you know, in the United States. And JC was good with that, and Clint was good with that. Me and Jim, we knew nothing about snow and mountains and things like that. And then we went to 2 events. Forgot where, South Lake City, I don't remember. Flagstaff, I don't remember exactly. No, not Flagstaff. But we went to the mountains, I think twice. And then I was like on ski slopes, you know. And then I told JC, hey, JC, what if go to big, massive mountains in Europe, you know? He's like, oh, this is dangerous and expensive, you know. How can I do this? And I was like, I'll figure it out. So I got money from Yahoo Brazil, and then we get in touch with our friends, the jumpers from Switzerland, and Stefan, sky surfer guy, Stefan Cloud. Stefan say, hey, Luigi, there's like a Eiger here and this, and you got the helicopter, you guys can jump and this and that. So we put a project together. We went there when we were the first to fly high performance parachute close to the north face of Eiger. That was back in 2000.
Man.
And then we started doing that, just like doing projects and, and stuff and filming. And I was sending to Brazil, and I was getting, good publicity in Brazil. And then I kept on going, and I'm still doing, stuff like that up to these days.
Sure. Well, it was those that were the beginnings of really getting the sport into the eyesight of the general public, right? Because, skydiving was never a spectator sport. You can't go watch it. That's one of the reasons that sky surfing never really survived the X Games, because who wants to go to an event to watch a TV? That's the only way you could see it happen.
Yeah.
And doing that mountain flying and the high profile stuff that you guys were doing really put it all in the public's face, and it looked cool, and you didn't need to understand it to go, holy shit, that's badass. It's that kind of stuff that kind of kicked off this whole, not the social media portion of it, but definitely the putting your stuff out there, and especially with the smaller canopy. What size was it, a 35 that you ended up getting the record with?
Well, I got the record in 2000 with the 46, and then 2004, I came up with the idea again, and we did a 39. So 39 was the big step, because 46 is still close to the 50s, but when you get down to 30s,
man.
And then I got that 39, and that was very scary, and then it took a lot of training and resource and a lot of tests. I flew the canopy a lot before landing.
Sure.
And in Paris, I would cut away because it's a drop zone. You have to jump. 2 parachutes, so I was cut it away, 3,000 feet, 2,700 feet, and then going to a normal parachute. I still have my reserve, and then I have to rescue the parachute. So I would spot the parachute when I cut it away, and then we got good at doing that, but we did that so much. And then with the 39, I set the record, and then I had the canopy, and I was comfortable, not really comfortable, but I was doing demos. People would hire me to go to place and jump the parachute, and I would go and do demo jumps, and obviously always like relying on good weather situation and everything.
Sure.
And then I thought, man, this parachute, it flies fast. I'm wondering how we would do with the wingsuit. And then I called Jeb Corliss, and I say, hey, Jeb, do you want to try to fly with the... He said, yeah, of course I want to try. And on our very first jump, he was flying with me. He was right there, the whole way, and we were amazed at the time, because there's no record of this. I knew of people trying to fly parachutes with the wingsuit, but they were just flybys, and we are like actually flying for the first time. And then that was great, make all the magazines, and I took pictures and all that. And then for some reason, 2008, they changed from the I think there was like a step up on the canopy model. I forgot what it was the VX I flew, and then they step up to the JVX, something like that, or the Fabric or something. And then I was like, wow, now I think I can go a little bit smaller. So we went down to a 37.
Jesus.
And then, once again, 37 was another record, very similar to the 39. And we did some canopy flying with the wingsuits again and things like that. And then I said, I retire of this. I will never do this again. This is the smallest, I think it's flat, it's landable, I'm not going to ever try anything smaller. And then years went by, and then Icarus contacted me, and they said, hey, listen, we got this guy, he's small and light, and he seems very professional, and he wants to try to break a record. But we were afraid that something would go wrong, and we will support him if you agree to help him to pass your knowledge and make sure he's safe, And I said, okay. I thought, I just don't want to be responsible because I know it's
Sure.
dangerous, but I will do my best.
Sure.
And they said, yeah, if you're not involved, we're not going to move forward with this. And then I get to know Ernesto, and then I worked with Ernesto. I loaned him all my prototypes, for him to start training, and gave him all the feedback I could. And
Sure.
And then he landed the 35.
Yep.
And then I was like, Ernesto, you don't have to go 35. I'm just 37. Why don't you go 36?
Right.
And he's like, no, 35. I can do it. And I was like, oh, man, I would go 36. Don't go 35. So he went 35. Ernesto is quite lighter than I am.
Sure.
He's, I think he was 52 kilos when he landed.
Sure.
My normal weight is 66. So he did a stunning job with the 35, and I was happy because records are made to be broken.
Sure.
If nobody goes behind a record, how good is this record?
Sure.
So,
I'll tell you what, though, that was one of the things that impressed me most about that story, because I happened to be lucky enough to be there when Ernesto was doing those jumps. So I got to watch all the prep and I got to watch all the work that went into it. But when I found out that most of that had happened because you had loaned him the prototypes and helped him along, I was blown away more over your helping someone break your record than the fact that you had the record in the first place. And that's it's one of the coolest things ever about skydiving. And I don't know very many other sports where an athlete would go, fuck yes, I'm going to help this guy smash my record, because that's what they're there for. And I really was blown away. I'm like, that's probably the most impressive thing I've heard about your career, was that you happily helped him break your own record, which is so cool, man.
Right on, Dean. Thanks so much. But man, I was happy that he was going for it because, I think, I don't know, it's a record, I had the record at some point. I don't have to have this record forever,
Sure.
The industry is moving forward.
Sure.
I hope that, this crazy thing, a lot of people think is stupid, sometimes I think it is, but deep in my heart, I don't think it is stupid.
Right.
Of course, sometimes I feel stupid. It's like, why I'm doing this?
Right.
There's so dangerous. So many things that could go wrong. This canopy doesn't even fly the way a skydive parachute should fly. It just drops off the sky. It's so intense.
Right.
Why I'm doing this? But I know for a fact that it helps the evolution. It's a step that it's making to move forward. Nobody has to jump that parachute.
Sure.
But everything that's happening because someone is doing it, it's helping to develop better technology, people to see what's possible, and to have a different standard of what can be done and things like that.
Sure.
So right now, I got this guy here. I knew you were going to ask about.
Yep.
So what is this?
Oh,
this
my
is a
God.
34.
All
I
right.
just got the mail. This is a magazine.
So this is for the people listening to the podcast, he is holding up a parachute literally packed inside a legal size envelope.
That's what it is, yeah.
Holy
so
shit.
This is a 34. And then
Oh my God.
people must be thinking, he just said that he was done after the 37.
Right.
And Ernesto's crazy to go 2 sizes down. Why the
Right.
35? Now I'm going to go 34. So Ernesto, why did you go 35? You could have gone 36. So I had one. I could be a 35, but I have to go 34.
Now you got to go
so,
34 to get the record. Now let me ask you. So you start jumping at 25. You're about to turn 50. You said half of your life has been put into skydiving, and you've intentionally geared yourself towards making the safe decisions. Man, you're about to turn 50 years old and go jump the smallest fucking parachute in the world. What's up with that?
I'll tell you what's up with that.
Yeah, man.
I don't promise you I'm going to land it.
Sure.
A lot of tests and a lot of things will have to happen in order for me to make that decision.
Sure.
Once I make that decision, I will know in my head it's 100% landable, And I'm not going to say it's a 100% safe because it will rely on how I'm going to perform.
Sure.
But everything else, all the data, all the training, all the information, the people that will be that I'm going to be relying and make safety decisions with me, I trust them very much, and they will not let me jump if there's a question mark.
Sure.
So I might not land it. I might find out, okay, it's landable, but it's too risky.
Right.
If I make, I don't feel comfortable because if I make this little mistake, it's not going to work, so I don't go.
Sure.
So it will have to have like a little bit of room for me to feel comfortable to do it. It is very it is very interesting that I'm doing this and I'm going to turn 50. I think about that. It's like, man, I never pictured this happen, you know? But once I got my first, I was jumping in the older generation canopy, and then I got the Slayer 64, and I used to jump like a 77, a 79, like as a regular parachute. When I was jumping, the JVX, and then I got this layer. I went to get this layer, and they say, "Oh, you need to downsize." And I say, "No, I'm good with that. I have been downsized a lot. I'm getting older. I want to just stay the same." No, this canopy, you have to fly a heavy wing load. And it's like, wow, really? Like, how heavy? And they gave me the wing load that the canopy is supposed to fly the best, and I found like, oh man, a 60. It's like, I used to jump the VX60. That was crazy. The opening was so hard. I remember back in the day.
Sure.
And the landing was so critical and all that. It's like, I don't want to have a 60 square foot canopy for everyday jumping.
Right.
And they say, oh, okay. So I went to 64. And then I got 64 thinking that was a bit too small. When I made my first landing, I was like, whoa, this is crazy. Wow, this is crazy. So that's why I'm doing this, because it has so much more performance on landing. And then I thought, wow, so yeah, 37 will be a piece of cake. I can go smaller. And then I start talking, to the experts and to Icarus and all that. And they said, well, there's something you should consider. The canopy lands better, but it's more elliptical, so it's going to be very twitchy. We don't know if it, at that size, if the canopy is going to fly straight even.
Sure.
So you have to try.
Right.
So I got a prototype 43, and then we already did, I would say 1/3 of the project was filmed with the 43. I did a lot of flying up in the air with the 43. First, we have to figure it out, like, this is why I'm doing. When I was doing back in the day, I was doing with the resource that I had. So that jumping with the airplane, most of the jumps I did out of the Super Twin order in Paris Valley, which has a side door, and then the exit to debag the canopy out of the airplane. It's horrible because it's sideways. So
Sure.
You're like 45-degree angle, somebody's holding the bag. That was like one of the scariest parts for me.
Sure.
I had a couple malfunctions on opening because of that. And this canopy spins so fast that the G-force increases so quick that if you let it take 3 spins, you don't have the strength to bring your hands to the cutaway cable.
Sure.
The G-force is too great and you will pass out quick and all that. So I have been always aware of this. And so here, and then I decide, okay, the only way I'm going to do it is if I have the funds to have a helicopter and to have a more clear way of the opening of the canopy, because the opening is just as dangerous as the landing.
Sure.
Then One thing that we learned here was that on my very first jump, I have I do fly helicopters. So I thought the downwash of the helicopter, it goes only for about, I don't know, 60 feet. So at the time I let it go and I stretch the lines and I'm following the canopy will open way below that. So it's not going to affect the canopy opening.
Sure.
And the hovering exit, it's the most symmetrical, the best opening I can have. So we did that for the first time. So what happened is, once the little parachute came out of the bag, he's lighter than me. So the downwash pushed the canopy down. So I'm falling and the canopy is falling faster than me. So I see the canopy coming around and going through his own lines, So my first opening, obviously, I was spinning my back right away. I cut it away quickly. And then we watched the video. I understand what happened. So we decided that, okay, I cannot have the helicopter hovering. So if he's going to be moving forward, how good that does. Okay, it's going to be sideways like the airplane. It's going to be slower. We don't have to go 80, 70, 60 knots.
Right.
But we have to go 30, And then we decided to crab the helicopter. So the helicopter stops and hovers and then instead flying forward, he flies sideways.
Oh, wow.
And I'm facing the door that way. So I have the winds coming towards to me 100%.
Sure.
So the helicopter is flying sideways at 20 knots only. The downwash is behind. So now I have the best, perfect openings. The canopy just pops right open, right off the door. It's beautiful. So all that stress that I had in the back with the opening, we figured it out with the helicopter. And now I'm much more relaxed because I have a better opening. The canopy opens so nice.
Sure.
And then I can focus more on my flight and all that. And then the other thing we are doing down here in Brazil, because we can have one parachute out of the helicopter, we can use a base gear. So I just have my base gear and I can fly the prototype down to 1,000 feet, 800 feet, 700 feet, cut it away, and have he landed exactly where I want. So I cut away the canopy, I land, and I look down, the canopy is landing right beside me. So the time we have to prep for the next jump, it's much faster than before. We don't have to chase the canopy down,
Sure.
Every time it was an adventure to get the canopy back. So that's a good thing. We did all that with the 43 here. And so far I made only one landing with the 43. I did several jumps where I flew and I cut it away, and then I figured it out. I did 12 jumps.
Okay.
And then I thought, okay, I think I can land. I don't think I know. And then I did the first land, and then the next day the winds were not so good, so I didn't mess with landing. I kept on flying and doing tests in the air, and then COVID-19 came in.
Oof.
And we got shut it down. And then in the meantime, I got the 34 made. So now I have to go back and do some more work on the 43, come back, do a lot of work on the 34.
Sure.
It's going to be back and forth, 43, 34, 43, 34. And you're going to figure it out the best way to try to land safely.
Sure. Now, how long have you been down because of COVID? I mean, have you not jumped at all, or you're just now getting back in the air?
I'm going to get back in the air next month, December. I don't jump since March.
Oh, wow. Really rough
the
time.
Yeah. I could have been jumping now, but recently. But I'm lining up projects and things like that. I'm working my schedule here, how I'm going to get back, how I'm going to start training,
Sure.
because I need to get ready, not just for this. I'm doing other stuff here too. Next month, we are doing the I think it's the very first time someone lands inside of a car with the parachute.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're going to do it down here in Brazil. I'm not gonna be the guy inside of the car, but I'm jealous. Yeah,
That's awesome.
This guy, he got a couple hundred jumps, maybe 200 jumps, but he's a professional car racer in Brazil, and he's gonna be one that he's going to do it. We're gonna take off with a huge hot air balloon with the car underneath, and we are getting special made parachutes for the car and all that, and he's gonna land inside of the car. That's happening next month. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Oh,
And,
man. Oh man,
Yeah.
I keep seeing so many new innovations and so many cool things that I keep getting caught off guard by the next new thing and the next cool thing. I just saw something on Facebook this last week, the electric jetpack for wingsuits.
Isn't that amazing from BMW?
From BMW. And that was, I think,
Yeah.
what blew me away even more is I'm like, it's BMW is doing this? I mean, that's just cool.
Yeah.
It really is. I think we're in such a neat time in the sport between Jetman and the rigid wing and stuff like this, and the guy that's got the jetpacks on his hands that's flying around. I mean, we're very literally stepping into the future super quick now, and it's such a cool time because guys like you and I remember when stiletto was the scary parachute, and so it's changed so much. It's just a wonderful thing to see, and the fact that you're still doing it. I mean, you're sitting there with a parachute that fits in an envelope in your lap. I mean, holy shit, man! Now,
I think it's like you said.
I was just gonna say, do you have kind of a time frame in mind for when you're going to be back on the 43 and then given the 34 your first flight?
Yes, I have scheduled for from January 10th to the 25th to finish the project. So between those dates, I'm going to be working full time in this event. I got some people coming from outside of Brazil. I need some reliable people to help me to make safe technical decisions. So I got James coming from Italy for those times. He was part of the beginning of the project, and I'm just waiting for his schedule. We have everything planned out: location, time, production, everything.
Awesome.
We're going to make a 1-hour documentary about the 34. And so next year, 2021.
Fantastic. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Now, for everybody that's listening and wants to know how to keep track of that project as well as the other stuff that you've got going on, how do they track you on social media? Where, what kind of footprint have you got out there? Where do they find you?
Yeah. Well, if you're outside of Brazil, I think the best way is on Instagram. I think I have not been posting much during the COVID-19 times because, we are not doing much. But starting December, we're going to get back on track. I got like 3 or 4 projects that is going to happen between now and February. So Instagram, I think it's a good way to track it down. And I'm happy to be back doing projects because it was a long time. Yeah,
for sure. Well, and what a project to come back with. I mean, it's going to be pretty epic, man. I cannot wait to see how it all goes, and then to, of course, watch the documentary after the fact. I'm sure it's going to be super cool.
Yeah, what we are trying to do is to make a video that people will understand. All the things we were talking, people should understand. Like why and how it works. I want to show people exactly what it is. How does it feel to fly it, and why I have the drive to do it, and I think. We have shown some of the stuff, on the earlier projects, but I think we're more prepared now to make a better piece and show people better, and make people connect more with the. Since you're talking about this, I really want to thank Icarus Canopies for being supporting this for so long and for being this amazing company that is always like into innovation, you know, and take it to the next step and take the risk. You know, there's a lot of risk. I think we build up a relationship with trust. So they trust me that I'm not going to jump the canopy if I'm not comfortable, you know, and I will not. I have nothing to prove. You know, this is the great thing, you know, like back in the day when you're talking like, you know, early the 90s, you know, we have so much to prove. But now we don't have, we got nothing to prove, you know. We have been jumping for so long. We got nothing to prove. If we can do it professionally, safely, we'll do it. If it's a question mark, I'm sorry, I'm too scared. I'm not going to move forward.
For sure. Well, and the cool thing about Icarus as a company, too, is they would be the first to support you either trying to land it or saying, nah, not going to happen. I had the privilege to have Julian as well as Attila both on the podcast, and it's great to hear from a company that's you know doing all this cutting edge stuff, but they're also willing to go, no, you guys are pushing a little too hard. We're going to try this instead, and it's refreshing to hear that. It really is. Yeah. Well,
Awesome.
dude, I'll tell you what, man, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to sit down and talk to me. I'm dying to see how it all goes. I want to see that 34 in the air, so I'll really be looking forward to that. Everybody needs to find you on Instagram so they can track what's going on, and I'm sure Icarus is going to be following up on what's going on as well. So,
Of course.
Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks so much.
Well, there you have it. Another episode of the Lunatic Fringe podcast brought to you as always by, well, wait, not as always, actually. Brought to you now by Gyro. Formerly known as NZ Aerosports, you'll head to gyro.com for their next level line of canopies. By Pussfoot, the Extreme Sports Collective. Head over to pussfoot.com to check it out. By Summit Parachute Systems, check out summitparachutesystems.com to talk to Jarrett Martin and the gang about kick-ass pilot rigs, rigging courses, and more. By Flyaway Indoor Skydiving, go to flyawaytn.com and check out all the cutting-edge stuff to come. By Pure Spectrum CBD, head to purespectrumcbd.com to check out their wide range of CBD products. And as for us, head to the lunaticfringepodcast.com to listen to any of the hundreds of episodes currently available, hit the link for our YouTube channel, pick up your copy of the Lunatic Fringe book or The Accidental Stripper, and get a sneak peek at upcoming guests. Once again, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.